When I say Hyundai 10 or 20 years ago, you wouldn't think of a premium product per se. Well, it is now 2022 and a lot of things have changed for Hyundai. They're now a really solid brand to choose when you want something a bit more upscale perhaps. And the latest in their lineup is this, the Hyundai IONIQ 5, sharing the same base plate as the Kia EV6. Well, the question is then, can the IONIQ 5 compete in the new generation of electric vehicles? This looks like a smaller car, but to get you some perspective, this is longer and wider than the Volkswagen ID.4. So this car is not a crossover. And I would argue that this is more of a sedan or estate. Or a large, small car. Because if you look at it, it looks like a bigger and more aggressive Honda E. And that's a good thing. Because the exterior of this IONIQ 5 is unlike anything I've seen before. It is modern while still contemporary in a really, really nice way. And if you consider this or compare this with the Kia EV6, I think that the EV6 is more of a love or hate type of car. How's the model lineup? Well, this is in the middle. But to simplify everything, you have the small battery and the small engine. You have the big battery and a bigger engine in the back. But you have also the top dog, the big battery, an engine in the rear and an engine in the front. So this is in the middle, which means that you have a 72.6 kilowatt-hour battery and an engine that produces 217 horsepower. It gives a claim range of 480 kilometers. And if you want to charge it, you have a maximum output of 220 kilowatt. And everything is based on 800 volt architecture, which is the latest in that type of platform and technology. Underneath this cover, it's not an engine. It is a frunk with a decent capacity. But that also means that the engine is in the rear. So this is a rear-wheel driven car, which means that with the instant torque from the electric engine, you can do this. It is crazy. What I did just now might look fun, and it is fun. And the IONIQ 5 can do fun. That's not what it's meant to do. But because you have an electric engine, you can put it almost everywhere you want, which means that you don't have to put it in the front to make as much space as possible. You can put it in the rear and have a whole new way of designing and building the car. As a buyer, value how comfortable a car is, how quiet it is, how much electricity it consumes, and much more. An electric car is often quite stiff in the springs because electric cars are quite heavy. This is a bit stiff, but the engineers at Hyundai has spent some thought and know-how into making this a really comfortable driving experience. Yeah, the steering is not that communicative, but all in all, it feels like a premium driving experience. But one of the most important things that I need to talk about is the consumption. And with winter driving conditions, there is a big problem. Because right now I have 70% battery and 186 kilometers of range. When I picked this car up with 100% battery, it stood about 310. That is not 480 kilometers of claim range. While this car has a heat pump, which I'm grateful for, which helps keeping the battery under safe conditions and increases the life cycle length of it, it affects the range. And this is not unique for this car. Almost, or I would argue that every other electric car will have this problem or has this problem. It is still sad and pretty stressful to see that range going down so quickly when it's winter conditions. But with the claimed charging speed of 22 kilowatt, charging this car up will take just about 40 minutes. And 5 minutes will give you 100 kilometers of range. And that is really impressive. The Volkswagen ID.4 has a maximum charging speed of just above 100 kilowatt. So this is in a completely different league. And now to some positive and some negatives. One big positive is that if I want to change lane, there's a camera underneath the side view mirror, and I get a picture of that camera on the side here. Which means that if there is a bicycle, a pedestrian or whatever, I will see it. Really nice to have that extra safety feature. However, the font size on these screens and the icons is really small, which means that I have to strain my eyes to see. And I can't even see what's on here right now without having to take away my focus completely from the road and here. I think they could have done that a bit better. Manual controls, or at least viewable controls for the temperature, the AC. I know where I need to press, I can see it with a simple look. I just increase the temperature. Simply and responsive. Even when my fingers are cold or I use some gloves. Really nice. And they've used a button philosophy throughout the interior, even though it's a simplistic interior, which I also like. It's easy to navigate, even though the sub-menus are a bit complicated. The active cruise control with lane assist. The lane assist is really aggressive, but if the lines aren't 100% clear, it would just steer directly to the sides. Once again, if you have an aggressive system, you need to be faultless. This isn't. This car is filled with tech, features and things that you can talk about when you're at the pub. And one of these features is the vehicle to load feature. Here you can see how much charge you have for this vehicle to load feature. You can use a maximum of 3 kilowatt, and you need to use an adapter, which is a bit annoying since if you lose that adapter, you can't use this feature. And the thought process is that if you need to use something that is electrical, you should be able to charge it from the car. And from a theoretical standpoint, that's fine. But when I go through my head of what I can do with it, I can't find that many things. Maybe jumpstart a car, but that's kinda it in the real world. But it's cool to have, and of course, it is cool to open and close it. At the rear compartment of the IONIQ 5, and while the approachability of this storage area is massive, the problem with this really angled rear is that being able to store everything here and backwards is almost impossible because you have a lot of plastic that covers this little extra room. And also going above this view cover is also a bit difficult because of this highly angled rear. So in terms of storage and usability, I don't think that this is at the top of its game. And at the rear seats of the IONIQ 5, you will find heated seats and electrically adjustable seats. And they are even possible to change like this. So let me demonstrate. I can sit like this, or I can have a very relaxed seating position. And actually, this is a position that I can find myself going for really long distances. Of course, it hinders the rear compartment, but of course you can move the seats forward and give some more rear compartment. Nice with the two-tone layout, and all in all, a great seating position in the rear, nice choice of materials, all in all, really nicely. This car has a really flat floor, which means that it is really easy to move in the rear from side to side. Easy if you have children and complaints where they sit. But in the front, Hyundai has used a really open design philosophy, so you don't have anything here. So you can theoretically move really easily in the front as well. But you have cup holders and an armrest that is in the way. Other than that, it's evident that Hyundai has taken on the simpler is better design philosophy that Tesla has spearheaded a bit. But they've done their own twist, and I like Hyundai's way of thinking. You still have buttons for the majority of things, and those that aren't buttons are still lighted up so you can see them in the night, and they respond really well. For example, the controls for the AC. Buttons are, as I said before, located in the interior. And what I like is that they have dedicated buttons for the front and rear side windows, so you can use them with ease. With the car started, I can show you the digital gauge cluster and the multimedia infotainment system. The digital gauge cluster has a font size that is too small and too much information packed into one single frame, or at least the design. It feels a bit clustered and it's difficult to see without straining the eyes. If you go to the infotainment system, it is the same as in the new i30 and i20, but it has a slight different layout and design. Usable, works, but when you go into a menu, I think that it is a bit cluttered. And what I mean by that is that why do they use this layout? Couldn't they made it cover the entire screen with bigger buttons or bigger areas to push on? Feels very weird. One of the best things about the interior is the steering wheel, the quality feel, and the gauges. The action of them is super premium. They've really been able to nail this feeling. That's not something that even premium car manufacturers can do. So this is a really big step up for Hyundai. Base price is 48,000 euros. This with the advanced package, the bigger battery, means that this is about 56,000 euros. And what is my conclusion of this Hyundai IONIQ 5? Well, it is competing with everything else on the market. It is a definitely unique exterior, a unique driving experience, and a unique car in of itself. Do I like it? Yeah. Do I enjoy it? Yes. Would you choose it, or should you choose it? Yeah. It's a solid competitive product from Hyundai, and the price point is bang on the competition as well. So all in all, if you want to look at a car at 55,000 euros, that is an electric car a bit bigger, and maybe it doesn't have that typical crossover stance, the Hyundai IONIQ 5 is something that you should really consider.